Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Sanctions always backfire. Since the 1950s, we have had North Korea under sanctions. Have they worked? Have they led to North Korean citizens rising up and overthrowing their government? No. Since the 1960s, we have had Cuba under sanctions. Have they worked? No, absolutely not. What sanctions do is to decrease our ability to trade with that country. Sanctions cause suffering and death. Sanctions are, according to the UN Peace Council, acts of war. In the 1980s, the United States imposed a food embargo on the USSR. Now, what happened there? Well, a number of things happened. The U.S. State Department actually said that not only did they not work, but they caused a lot of problems in this country. There were a lot of farmers in the United States that traded with Russia, right, with the USSR. And suddenly, they lost that income. Now, if you remember, back in the 1980s, there was a huge issue with farmers losing their farms. And they went bankrupt because they could not sell their crops. What happened in Russia? Well, the sanctions, first of all, came too late to have any of the desired effects because the sanctions were imposed after Russia had, or the USSR had a crop disruption the previous year because of drought. But by the time the sanctions were imposed, they were no longer in drought. So what has happened in the USSR and Russia since the USSR collapsed is that Russia developed a stronger agricultural industry, and at this point, they are the leading exporter of grain globally. Look at what is happening right now between Russia and Ukraine. They produce 30% or more, 30 to 40% of global grain exports. And that is all on hold right now. Ukraine has missed the planting season as of this point. So they're not going to be exporting any grain this year. And Russia has suspended all grain exports from now through June. So, and what will they lift that suspension at that time? We don't know yet. When Trump started laying all of these tariffs, which are a form of embargo, on Chinese goods, what was the result in this country? The result was, and is, to now, because Biden has continued those tariffs, what happened was that it has led to increased inflation in the United States. It's part of where we are right this minute. So sanctions don't work. If you impose sanctions on another country, that means that you and your allies are not able to sell to that country. That means that you just lost business. You lost income. You destroyed jobs in your own country. That's what happens when you impose sanctions. So this does no good. It is counterproductive. It is foolish. It is insane to even think that this works. We have decades, as I've just shown, of historical precedent. If we lifted sanctions on North Korea, then we could increase trade. If we lifted sanctions on Cuba, we could increase trade. If we were not imposing sanctions on Russia right this minute, then we wouldn't have this problem. If we didn't have all the tariffs and sanctions on China, this has led to decreased trade, supply chain disruptions, and a loss of living wage jobs in this country. So what are you left with? You're left with nothing but low wage jobs. And the only reason that the wealthy are getting wealthier is because of stock buybacks. The nonstop printing machine loaning money at near 0% interest just means that more of the wealth is flowing to the top. They're not doing more business, they're doing less business. We're exporting less than we have in decades. We're importing less than we have in decades. Even what we are importing or producing, fewer people are able to buy because because everything has gone up in price, and yet wages are stagnant or even decreased, and we're winding up with fewer and fewer jobs, more and more people leaving the labor force. This is what happens from sanctions. We want to talk about, the United States has to be first. Why do we need to be first? Why? Does that really help our economy? Does it help? The more the dollar is worth, it means that you're able to sell less to other countries because they don't have the money to buy your goods. So you keep on forcing other currencies down, therefore able to afford less. We already have trade deficits with virtually every country that we trade with, including Russia. Because yes, we are still importing liquefied natural gas from Russia. That happened to decline for about 2 weeks, and then it bounced right back, and I think we're actually importing more than we were before, just trying to make up for the deficit that we caused in this country. Now, we don't import a significant amount, but we are importing from Russia, but we're not exporting anything to Russia, so that results in a trade deficit. What has this done for our own economy? Think about it. So this is not just true of the United States either. Right this minute, Europe is paying record high prices for gas and energy. And yet they're talking about, placing a complete embargo in some countries on Russian oil and gas. What is the result of this? Well, it causes the prices, that they're paying to go up even more, including their industry, which makes their products uncompetitive. In the Netherlands, because of fuel prices, energy prices, well, they are a leading exporter of produce because they have built huge amounts of greenhouses. Well, those greenhouses have to have energy for climate control. Well, they've had to shut down most of their greenhouses because they cannot afford the climate control. So they're losing money, and they're having to import the very goods, produce that they were exporting just a year or two ago. What good is this doing? That means if you keep on doing this, then what greenhouses still exist are going to have to shut down. You can't keep doing this. You've lost jobs. You've lost income. You've increased the prices to people that have lost those jobs and lost that income. Where does it go from here? So, sanctions don't work. They do not work. They cannot work. There is no, if you actually looked at this and tried to plan out whether this was going to work, any realistic, analyst would tell you this is going to backfire. And that's exactly what's happening right this minute. That is exactly what has happened every time we sanctioned any country that had any significant import or export business with other countries. You destroy entire industries within your own country by imposing sanctions. So what is the good from this? I mean, we get, rare earth minerals from Russia and China. China has decreased their export of rare earth minerals, and right now we can't get any rare earth minerals from the United States. And one report that I read said that every microprocessor on the planet includes minerals that come from Russia. So that means microprocessor production is just going to come to a complete standstill as soon as the existing backstores of those minerals are used up. What is produced is going to double, triple, quadruple in price and more. And as that happens, you're not able to produce advanced technology devices. You stop producing computers. You reach the point where you cannot even replace parts for your own war machines, and you can't build new ones without going backward in technology because we don't have anything to replace it with. This is the result of sanctions. So when you talk about, this is a peaceful way, first of all, sanctions are not peaceful. They are in no way peaceful. When you're starving people and forcing them to go without medical care or medications, medical care, etc., that's not peaceful. It's not peaceful for them. It's not peaceful for us. So it's time to end this foolishness all sanctions should be lifted. And if you want to talk about free trade, well, let's have peaceful free trade. You want to talk about competition, well, let's compete. Or, better yet, let's cooperate. How about that? All right. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.